Hello, and in today's video, I will be selling my soul to the devil. No, but in all seriousness, today we're going to be doing a top 10s list, which I do not have any plans of making a constant series. I'm already pretty much locked into doing Roblox stuff as much as I would love to also be locked into doing top 10 lists. Yeah, I don't think so. But regardless, in light of the fact that Roblox broke YBA, and as of the recording of this, it's still not working, I decided that I should do something different and that I don't necessarily need 1v1 footage for, but I did need background footage, so AI, again. Sorry. Anyways, this time around we're going to be talking about quality of life changes because I feel like YBA has a lot of these really minor nuisances that make playing the game more of a chore. And in all honesty, they're not super difficult fixes. It just doesn't make sense that some of them are there. And so I think having a record of where these things are and what they are is for the best. So that's basically the point of this video. One last thing before I start, I don't only make YBA stuff, I also make Battlefield videos. They're on par, if not better than the YBA ones. So if you're not watching those, you're missing out on about half the stuff I make on this channel. So you can go ahead and watch those. If you don't get them recommended to you, it's probably because your notifications are not set to all. They're set to my preferred. You can change that at the bottom. And with that, we'll actually kick things off and get things started proper. At number 10, I've got main game fast travel. We've all been there. Every single one of us at some point has traveled an extreme distance and then just gets stuck and isn't entirely sure what to do. This is especially prevalent due to the fact that YBA's storyline has you trekking across the entire map a lot of the time. And frankly, I'm fairly certain that the reasoning behind this is actually somewhat sound. The reason that you have to trek across the whole map over and over again is because the developers wanted you to learn the map, and so the best way to do that is to actually walk around the map. The problem is this doesn't show you a lot of the points of interest that you actually need to know about. Stuff like the arcade, the SBR server area, or even the cosmetic salesman. And on top of that fact, after the first time that you've gone through this, you already know where you're going, so what's the point of having to walk the whole way? It's especially egregious when you have to talk to Trishuna and then walk all the way to the train station to get to the end of it to fight Gyro. Now yes, I know, there's a skip. If you fight Pesci and then just don't talk to Trish and walk straight to Mista, then you don't have to trek all the way back. But you shouldn't have to know something obscure like that to not have to walk forever to get from place to place. So what I propose is to either have NPCs or interactable objects at main areas of the map that you can talk to, and when you talk to them, it gives you the option of fast traveling to different areas in the map. Pretty simple stuff, really. And I know there's going to be some people that say that this is bad because then people can just try to kill you and then run to a fast travel point and teleport away. So putting on a simple gate of you have to be full health to fast travel is a really simple fix to this problem, and I think with that, it would just be a great addition and make life a whole lot easier. It would also reduce the amount of suicidal people at the train station, so that would be good too. Coming in at number 9, I've got Move Gyro from the end of SBR. This is something that's bothered me for a considerable amount of time, and that's why in the hell did they decide that it was a good idea to put the Gyro NPC that gives you spin all the way at the end of Steel Ball Run? I bet you that there are some people watching this video that don't even know that spin is a fighting style because of how convoluted and frustrating it can be to actually acquire, especially if you're playing by yourself. Gyro being locked at the end of Steel Ball Run is just incredibly unintuitive, because it almost treats spin as if it's a better spec than all the other specs, which it isn't even close to being. But you would assume it would be because of how much more difficult it is to get compared to the other specs in the game. But it's not. It just has an arbitrary lock of good luck getting to the end of Steel Ball Run in order to actually get it. I think there's more than a few reasons that you basically never see spin in game, most of them likely stemming from the fact that boxing and Haman are just better options almost all the time, but I can guarantee you that you would at least see a little bit more people using this spec if it wasn't so obnoxious to obtain. If it were up to me, I would either move Gyro to the beginning of Steel Ball Run, or better yet, take him out of Steel Ball Run entirely and put him in the main game. Every single fighting style in the whole game, aside from spin, can be obtained in main game. The item that you need in order to get spin spawns in main game. So I have no idea why getting spin is so convoluted. Just move him to his own corner in main game and be done with it. That's what I think anyway. At number 8, I have increased the amount of cooldown icons. Now this one is pretty simple and doesn't require too much explanation. For whatever reason, as it is right now, YBA only allows you to have 5 cooldowns active at one time. And by that I mean visual cooldowns, not actual cooldowns. In other words, if you have 5 moves that are on cooldown and you use another one of your moves will vanish. This means that you'll have no idea when that cooldown's coming back, and it can seriously hamper builds that have a lot of moves in them. This especially hurts Pluck, which has a lot of moves in of itself, and then you consider stand moves, and it's just hard to tell what's on cooldown and what's not. And it's especially destructive when you're using things with long cooldowns, and then a long cooldown gets overwritten, and you have no idea when your beatdown, time stop, or whatnot is coming back. So increasing the amount of cooldowns would be incredibly helpful, and I hope that we'll see this in-game at some point. Number 7 is to add training dummies or add a training mode. Credit where credit is due to End the JoJo game and Troublesome Battlegrounds because they have free access to training modes that give you actual important information all the time. YBA, on the other hand, well, it doesn't have that. Yes, YBA has NPCs, but those NPCs never have their health displayed, so figuring out how much damage you're dealing and how accurate that damage is very difficult. And on top of that fact, trying to figure out what combos and such are true is a pain in the ass. What I end up doing to circumvent this is to sign in on mobile, because mobile's able to buffer block by pressing the block button on mobile, and so I hit my mobile self with a stun, hit the block key, and then test my combo to see if it's true. Frankly, I should not have to do this. If I want to know if a combo is true or not, I should be able to go over to a blocking dummy, block break them, start my combo, and see if it's true. The fact that you can't do that is kind of perplexing. Ideally, add a training mode. Unideally, add them to the main game, and super unideally, lock them behind a paywall and force you to buy a private server. Regardless of how it's implemented, having the ability to actually test things in a decent environment would be great. Number 6, add a real item trading menu. This I don't understand, and I don't know if I ever will understand how it's not a thing. Seriously, why is there a menu for trading useless cosmetics, but items that actually are important and hold value have to be dropped on the floor and then prayed to the gods above that you don't get scammed by someone? Seriously, why is all the trading in this game when it comes to items trust-based? This is a game full of children. You can't trust anyone in here. Everyone's gonna try to scam you. It makes no sense whatsoever that there's no real menu for trading items in this game. And trading is an actually important part of the game. There's an entire channel on the Discord of YBA delegated to trading. A trading menu should exist. I have no idea how there's still not one. At number 5, I've got add an option to reopen the main menu. When you first start up YBA, you get the option of playing main game, 1v1s, 2v2s, competitive SPR, and casual SPR. This menu is great, shows you all your options, and I have no complaints with it. The complaint I do have is that the only way to access the menu is to leave and rejoin the game. So in other words, if you want to play 1v1s and you're already in main game, you can't switch to it. The game won't let you. If you're in main game and you want to go play 2v2s, you can't do that. You can walk over to the teleporters in the game and get to the SPR, but if you want to play any of the other modes and you've already started main game, you have to restart the entire game. This can be obnoxious, especially when trying to change your build out. If I'm playing with a friend and we're playing 2v2s and I decide that I want to swap my stands, I need to join a game, hit main game, change my stand and my stats, then leave the game, rejoin another game, and then click 2v2 so I can re-queue. That doesn't really make any sense, and I don't know why it's a thing. Just let us open up the menu in the bottom right and have the ability to go back to the main menu. Number 4, decrease the boss spawn timers. As it stands right now, all the bosses in the game take far too long to respawn. This is incredibly obvious with all of the heaven bosses, which I didn't even bother to go time because everyone knows that they take way too long to come back and basically force you to server hop every single time you kill them if you want to get anything done in a reasonable amount of time. But honestly, I'm not even talking about those bosses. I'm mostly talking about the Dio boss and the Jotaro boss. Jotaro Part 3, not Jotaro Part 6. The respawn times on these bosses is too long. And the reason it's too long is because in order to level up quickly, you need to farm these bosses. But you can't actually reliably farm the bosses because their respawn time takes so long that you're gonna end up spending most of your time sitting around waiting for them to come back instead of actually fighting them. The zombie henchman quest should not be the fastest way to level up past level 30. Once you unlock the Dio quest, fighting Dio should be the fastest way to level up. But because of how long it takes for Dio to respawn, this just isn't the case. Even if you're really good at killing Dio, it's gonna take him so long to come back that it's literally faster to just fight the zombie henchman. Because the zombie henchmen, you kill them, and then once you've talked to Dracula, by the time you go back, the henchmen are back and you can fight them again. But Dio, you kill him, then you talk to Doppio, then you come back, and you have to wait around for a minute and a half. Why do you have to do that? Just have these bosses come back within a reasonable amount of time. Make it like 10 to 15 seconds. I don't know why it's so long, it doesn't make sense, and it makes the level grind an absolute chore. Number 3 is something that I know full well will never happen, but stand rolling dupe protection. This one is incredibly self-explanatory and probably the shortest one that's gonna be on here. There are 38 stands in YBA. Obviously, not all of these are obtainable through arrows, but if I'm rolling an arrow and I get a stand, and then I roka it and roll another arrow, I should not be getting the exact same stand I just got rid of. If you want to give me Mr. President, Beach Boy, Mr. President, and then Beach Boy, that's fine. But if you're gonna give me Mr. President and then Mr. President again, that's an issue, and that shouldn't be happening. Not much more to be said about this one. Winding things down, at number 2, add the ability to skip dialogue and animations. Don't get me wrong, the arrow animation looks slick. But just because it looks cool doesn't mean I want to see it over and over and over and over again while I'm trying to farm for stands. When I'm trying to get a specific stand, I don't care what the animation of the arrow looks like, I just want to see what stand I got so that I can get to rokaing it faster. But despite that, you have to sit through the entire animation every single time, and it takes an eternity. On top of that fact, dialogue that I've already read 50 times, I should just be able to skip. The dialogue in YBA comes painfully slow, and I've been told that it's also tied to frame rate for whatever reason. If I'm talking to someone and I've already heard what they want to say, I should just be able to click my mouse and it should skip all the dialogue and give me my dialogue options. That way I don't have to see the same dialogue over and over again. I can just skip it and click OK. I think this is something that everyone in the entire game has probably been wanting for a long time, whether you knew it or not. Using 15 stand arrows should not take a half hour, and if you could skip the animation, it wouldn't take that long. So hopefully, eventually, we'll get the option to skip the dialogue and skip the animations. Won't hold my breath, but here's hoping. And finally, at number 1, for God's sakes, add a real shop. The fact that the only way you can get items in this game is by randomly finding them or playing a fucking slot machine is unforgivable. If you have the cash and you want to buy an item, you shouldn't have to gamble for it. You should walk over to a shop and say, hey, a roka for $2,500. Okay, here's $2,500, now I have a roka. Instead of going to the arcade and going, here's a coin and $1,500. Man, I sure do hope that I don't end up with a diamond. Like seriously, this is a children's game. Why is gambling so heavily important to this game? Honestly, at times, it's a little unsettling. The arcade is just straight up a slot machine. And I know that some of you are gonna tell me that because you can't actually spend real money on it, then it isn't technically gambling. But that's the same bullshit with loot boxes in games, and we've already had this conversation 100 times. Just because you can't spend real life money on the gambling doesn't mean that this isn't still a slot machine and encouraging gambling to children. It's honestly one of the things that gets me the most worked up behind the scenes about YBA. Like, I get it, it's random chance to obtain stands and whatnot. Whatever, games have random elements, but it feels like everything in YBA is random. The stands are random, the item acquisitions are random, the chances that you'll succeed using items is random, the rewards at the end of Steel Ball Run are random, the drops if you kill the bosses are random. Does everything have to be random? Can there not be anything in this game that you actually obtain through doing something that isn't random? I would say that the World Over Heaven quest isn't random because it gives you specific goals. It tells you go win 25 1v1s, kill 50 people in SBR. But then it says kill Dio over Heaven and hope that he randomly drops the bone. No matter what it is, it's always random. So for God's sakes, at least there be one thing in here that you can get reliably, and that should be simple items like rokas and arrows that you can obtain by just paying straight money to get exactly what you're looking for. And number 0, free spec storage, baby!